Someone is sitting in a meeting, half listening to a coworker give a presentation. The coworker seems relaxed, they're speaking clearly, smiling, making eye contact. They look like they belong there. And out of nowhere, a wave of irritation crashes through you. Your chest tightens, your jaw clenches. You think, who do they think they are acting so confident? A minute ago, you were fine. Now you feel hot, tense, almost angry. You look around the room, no one else seems bothered. It's just you, sitting there, silently seething at someone who isn't even talking to you. Later, when you're alone, you replay the moment. You feel a little embarrassed. You tell yourself, they're just arrogant, or they love showing off. You build a story that makes your reaction make sense. But deep down, there's a question you can't quite shake. Why did that bother me so much? Why does this one person get under my skin when everyone else seems fine with them? That question is the doorway, because the answer usually isn't about them at all. It's about you. And specifically, it's about the parts of you that you've been hiding, rejecting, or pretending don't exist. The people who trigger you the most are often mirrors, reflecting back the very things you don't want to see in yourself. This isn't just a one-time thing. Once you start noticing it, you see it everywhere. Maybe there's a friend who constantly talks about their life, their achievements, their plans. Every conversation somehow circles back to them. You smile and nod, but inside you're grinding your teeth. You vent to someone else. They're so self-absorbed. But if you're really honest, other people talk about themselves too, and it doesn't bother you this much. So why does this person make you want to scream? Or maybe it's a relative who never seems stressed. Things go wrong and they shrug it off. It'll work out, they say with a calm smile. You think, they're in denial. They don't get how hard life really is. But underneath that judgment, maybe what's really bothering you is that they have something you desperately want. The ability to let go, to trust, to not carry the weight of the world on their shoulders.
Every second of every day. Or maybe it's someone who cries easily, who shares their feelings openly, who seems totally unbothered by being vulnerable in front of others. You judge them silently. They're so dramatic. They need so much attention. They're exhausting. But later, alone in your car or your room, you realize you haven't cried in months, maybe years. You've swallowed every hard feeling that tried to come up. And seeing someone express what you've been locking away for so long doesn't inspire you. It threatens you. These moments aren't random personality clashes. They're signals. Your emotional reactions are trying to tell you something important about yourself. Most of the time, this pattern starts very early, in childhood. Think about a little girl who's naturally expressive. She laughs loud, cries hard, asks for attention, gets angry when things aren't fair. But over time, the people around her send her messages. Calm down. You're too much. Why can't you be more like your sister? Stop being so dramatic. She learns that to be loved, to be safe, she has to shrink. She has to become quieter, easier, less. The loud, messy, emotional parts of her don't disappear. They just get shoved into a closet and locked away. Now think about a boy who's naturally confident. He wants to be seen, to be heard, to take up space. But maybe his father was dominating and his mother suffered because of it. Or maybe he got teased for speaking up, for wanting attention. He learns that confidence equals arrogance, that wanting to be seen equals being selfish, so he tucks his boldness away. He learns to apologize for existing. He tells himself, I don't need that. I'm humble. And for years, that story protects him from shame. Some children grow up in homes where any sign of weakness is punished, crying is mocked, fear is dismissed, needing help is a burden. So they learn to be tough, independent, to never ask for anything. The soft, scared, needy parts of them get locked in a box, and that works. Until, years later, they meet someone who openly admits they're struggling, who asks for help without shame, who cries in front of others, and it makes them furious. Psychologist Carl Jung called these hidden parts the shadow. Not because they're evil, but because they live in the shadow of your awareness. You can't see them directly in yourself. But they don't stay quiet. They show up in how you react to other people. They show up in who you judge, who you envy, who you can't stand to be around.
The qualities you reject most harshly in others are often the qualities you've rejected most harshly in yourself. And that's why certain people feel like emotional landmines in your daily life. At work, you might find yourself constantly irritated by a colleague who speaks up confidently in meetings, who takes credit for their work, who doesn't seem to worry about what others think. You call them arrogant. You complain about them to other coworkers. But if you really look deeper, you might realize you were taught that wanting recognition is selfish, so you stay quiet. You downplay their contributions. You let others take the spotlight while you silently resent it. And watching someone do the exact opposite, freely, unapologetically, feels like a slap in the face. It's like they're breaking a rule you've been following your whole life, and they're not even being punished for it. In romantic relationships, you might be triggered by a partner who withdraws emotionally. When things get hard, they shut down. They don't want to talk about feelings. You think they're cold, they don't care about me. But maybe, underneath that anger, there's a part of you that's exhausted from always being the one who stays open, who does the emotional work, who shows up no matter what. Maybe there's a part of you that desperately wants permission to shut down too, and seeing them do it freely while you can't makes you rage. In friendships, you might judge someone who sets clear boundaries. They say no without guilt. They don't over-explain or apologize. They protect their time and energy. You think they're selfish, they're cold. But really, you're furious because you've spent years saying yes when you meant no. You've twisted yourself into painful shapes to keep everyone happy. You've abandoned your own needs over and over. And watching someone refusing to do that feels like betrayal, not of you, but of the unspoken rule you've been living by. This is what psychologists call projection. You take the part of yourself you can't accept and you project it onto someone else, like a movie onto a screen. Then you react to them as if the problem is out there, not in here. It's not a conscious choice. You genuinely believe the issue is their arrogance, their coldness, their selfishness. But the intensity of your reaction, the way you can't stop thinking about them, the way your body heats up when they're around, the obsessive judging, that's the clue that something deeper is going on. Here's what happens when you stay stuck in this pattern. You waste enormous amounts of energy judging people who aren't actually doing anything to you. You feel exhausted by people you don't even spend that much time with. You end up in constant low-level conflict, building resentments, venting to others, stewing in silent frustration. But more importantly, you stay disconnected from whole parts of yourself. The confident part, the vulnerable part, the angry part, the soft part, the ambitious part, the playful part. Whatever you've pushed into the shadows keeps trying to come back to life, and every time it does, you slam the door by seeing it in someone else and calling it bad. You live a smaller life than you need to. You perform a narrower version of yourself. And underneath it all, there's a quiet, constant exhaustion from keeping so much of yourself locked away. But here's the reframe that changes everything. The people who trigger you aren't your enemies, they're your teachers. Not because they're perfect or enlightened, but because your reaction to them is showing you exactly where your inner work lives. That coworker's confidence isn't the problem. Your shame about wanting to be seen is. That friend's emotional openness isn't annoying. Your fear of being vulnerable is. That family member's boundaries aren't cruel. Your inability to set your own is. The thing you judge in them is very often the thing you're starving for in yourself. This doesn't mean every negative reaction is projection. Sometimes people genuinely are
harmful, disrespectful, or toxic. The difference is in the heat of your reaction. If you can calmly think, this behavior doesn't work for me, I'm choosing to step back. That's discernment. That's clarity. But if your reaction is hot, obsessive, disproportionate, if you're venting to 5 people, if you can't stop thinking about them, if the anger stays with you for days, that's almost always a mirror showing you something about yourself. So, what do you actually do with this? First, notice your emotional triggers and write them down. Start paying real attention to who lights you up emotionally. Not just people who mildly annoy you, but people who really get under your skin. Write down their name and the specific quality that bothers you. Don't sugarcoat it. Be brutally honest with yourself. They're so full of themselves. They're so needy and emotional. They're so controlling. They're so irresponsible and chaotic. Once you have that list, ask yourself a harder question. What would it mean about me if I had that quality? Sit with the discomfort. Let answers come up. If I were that confident, people would think I'm arrogant and hate me. If I were that emotional, people would think I'm weak and pathetic. If I set boundaries like that, people would think I'm selfish and leave me. Often, underneath the judgment is a belief, a rule you learned early that says, this quality is dangerous. If I show it, I'll be rejected, mocked, abandoned, or hurt. That belief is what keeps the part of you locked away. Second, write to the disowned part of yourself. Once you've identified the quality that triggers you, try writing a letter to the part of yourself that carries it. If boldness bothers you, write to your bold self. If softness bothers you, write to your soft self. Dear confident me, I've been hiding you my whole life because I was terrified people would think I'm arrogant or too much. But maybe you're not arrogance. Maybe you're just presence. Maybe you're just the part of me that knows I deserve to be here. This might feel awkward or fake at first. You might think, I don't even have that part. But if you're reacting to it in others, it exists in you somewhere. It might be tiny. It might be buried under years of shame, but it's there, waiting for permission to exist. Third, experiment with embodying the quality you judge, just a little. If you judge people who talk about their accomplishments, try sharing one thing you're proud of this week, out louder, to another person. Notice what happens in your body. Notice the fear. Notice the voice that says, you're bragging, you're being arrogant, stop. Sit with that discomfort. You're not becoming a narcissist. You're just testing whether the old rule still applies. If you judge people who cry easily, let yourself cry once. Alone is fine. Just let the tears come without immediately shutting them down, distracting yourself, or telling yourself to get over it. Notice the shame that comes up. Notice the belief underneath. Crying means I'm weak. Crying means I'm broken. You're gently challenging that belief by doing the thing you've been taught not to do. If you judge people who say no without guilt, practice one tiny no this week. I can't help with that. I'm not available. That doesn't work for me. Don't apologize. Don't give a long explanation. Just say no. And feel what happens. Your nervous system will probably scream that you're being selfish, that people will be angry, that you're a bad person. Let it scream. You're teaching it, slowly, that having limits doesn't make you unlovable. Fourth, set boundaries with triggering people without making them the villain. You can still create distance from someone whose energy doesn't work for you, even if they're mirroring something. You don't have to force yourself to spend time with every person who triggers you just because they're teaching you something. But there's a huge difference between this person is terrible and I hate them, and this dynamic is uncomfortable for me, so I'm choosing space. The first keeps you stuck in blame and victimhood. The second keeps you in your power. You're not making them wrong. You're making a choice based on what you need. That's mature. That's healthy. Fifth, spend time in solitude asking what you've been hiding. Set aside time alone without distractions.
Phone. No music. No TV. Just you and your thoughts. Ask yourself gently, what part of me have I been rejecting? What part of me am I scared to let out? Maybe it's your anger. Maybe it's your softness. Maybe it's your ambition, your grief, your playfulness, your sexuality, your need for rest. Whatever it is, it's been exiled for a reason. That reason probably made sense when you were young and trying to survive your environment. But now, as an adult, it might be costing you more than it's protecting you. Sit with that part. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to make it smaller or more acceptable. Just let it exist. Say to it, silently or out loud, you're allowed to be here. I've been scared of you, but you're part of me. Sixth, talk to a safe person about what you're noticing. If you have someone you trust deeply, you can try sharing this work with them. I've been noticing I get really triggered by people who seem confident. I think it's because I'm terrified of being confident myself. That level of honesty is vulnerable. It might feel risky, but it also breaks the spell. Saying the truth out loud takes some of the shame out of the shadow. You're not asking them to fix you or validate you. You're just naming what you're seeing. And often,
They'll say something like, "I've noticed that in myself too." That shared humanity softens the shame even more. 7th, do a weekly mirror work reflection. At the end of each week, ask yourself, who bothered me this week? What quality did they show that I judged harshly? Then ask, where in my life am I not allowing myself that quality? You won't always get a clear answer. Sometimes the mirror is fuzzy, but the practice of asking keeps you curious instead of reactive. It turns judgment into self-awareness, and over time, that shift changes everything. What starts to happen when you do this work consistently? The people who used to drive you absolutely crazy start to bother you less. Not because they've changed, they're still the same, but you've changed. You're no longer at war with the part of yourself they represent. You might still prefer not to spend tons of time with them. That's okay. But the heat is gone.
Obsession is gone. They're just people now, not emotional grenades. You also start to feel more whole. You're not just the nice one or the strong one or the responsible one anymore. You have access to more colors, more range. You can be confident when it's needed. You can be soft when it's safe. You can be firm. You can be playful. You're less rigid, more flexible, more human. Your relationships shift. Some people might not like the new version of you. They were comfortable with the smaller, predictable version. As you reclaim your shadow, those relationships might get strained or fade. That can hurt. But other relationships will deepen because now you're showing up as more of yourself. The people who love the real you, all of you, will move closer. Inside, you feel less like you're performing and more like you're living. The constant vigilance about being too much or not enough starts to relax. Not because you've fixed yourself or become perfect, but because you've stopped treating parts of yourself like enemies. You'll still get triggered. You'll still judge people sometimes. But now, instead of staying stuck there for days or weeks, you catch yourself faster. Oh, there it is again. What's this really showing me? The trigger becomes information, not proof that someone else is the problem. Picture that meeting again. That coworker speaking confidently, that wave of irritation rising in your chest. But this time, instead of building a story about how arrogant they are, you pause. You take a slow breath. You ask yourself quietly, what is this really about? And maybe the answer comes. I want to speak like that. I want to feel like I belong in the room like that. I've been scared to, because someone once told me confidence is arrogance. But maybe it's not. Maybe I've just been small for so long that seeing someone be big feels threatening. The irritation doesn't disappear completely, but underneath it now, there's something softer. Longing, sadness, maybe even a little bit of hope. You don't have to become exactly like that person, but you do get to reclaim the part of you that wants to be seen, that wants to take up space, that wants to exist. Without constantly apologizing. And in doing that, you stop needing them to be wrong so you can stay small. You stop needing to judge them to protect yourself from your own growth. That's the real power of mirror work. Not to eliminate your reactions or to become someone who never gets triggered, but to let those reactions teach you, to stop seeing other people as problems and start seeing them as messengers, pointing you back to the parts of yourself that are still waiting in the shadows, hoping you'll finally open the door and let them come home. If this resonated with you, subscribe for more videos on psychology and personal growth. And in the comments, I'd love to hear, what quality really bothers you in other people? And can you see even a tiny trace of it hidden somewhere in yourself? Sometimes just naming it out loud is the first step in bringing it back into the light.